welcome to Light Haven, the podcast for all things spiritual, mystical, and energetic. My name is Bianca, astrologer and Reiki practitioner.
And I'm Ruth, mystery student towards the awakening of consciousness.
Today, we are going to be sharing a little bit about our experience on a 10-day silent Vipassana meditation course. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's a retreat. It's a course. I heard some people say Vipassana, but I've heard more people say Vipassana, so I'm going with that.
Well, I was confused too, and then throughout the audios that they play during our meditations, Gwenka says Vipassana. So I was like, oh, all right. Well, I'm going to say it how he says it, Vipassana.
Yeah. I think it would be great for us to give a synopsis of the key things that happen when you go on a retreat, because I think we both watched some videos on what happens at a Vipassana retreat, but still
I've only watched one.
Okay. Yeah.
The one that you shared with me, she's an Australian girl. She went.
Yeah.
But it's funny because after the retreat, I went and I YouTubed Vipassana meditation retreat and decided to watch a couple of reviews. And I was just like, oh, why didn't I think of this before? But I'm actually glad that I watched actual people's reviews after the fact, because then I was able to compare my experience with theirs and kind of make judgments on, I mean, not to say that their experience was less real than mine, but able to kind of compare and just kind of see some of the reasoning as to why they might be saying these things without us even realizing why they had those experiences and we had something different. But yeah,
you can be more objective, definitely, if you don't go in with the coloring of someone else's take on it, because you want to have your own take.
That's right. Yeah,
definitely. But we watched that video. Yeah. And I just wanted to say that I don't think that video properly prepared us for what it was actually going to be like.
No, and I'm kind of glad that I wasn't overly prepared, because I wanted to be open-minded about the whole experience and I wanted it to be mine, and I didn't want it to be clouded by knowing what other people have said and trying to make it similar or whatever, but just be in the moment. How am I feeling about this? Just be present with how I'm actually feeling and not trying to think myself into a sensation or a feeling because I know someone else shared that they were experiencing this on any given day of the course of the retreat.
Yeah, well, let's give the rundown of how the course works, and then we can talk more about, we can go deeper into what we were feeling, experiencing, and our reactions. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you want to start us off, please?
Yeah. And then you can add things that come up. So this place, the Dharma Medini Center, is about an hour north of Auckland. So it was a nice country drive.
And this is where Ruth and I are based, in Auckland.
That's correct. And so the first thing that happened just in the series of events that was interesting was I found the website had a rideshare board, and I was very curious, and I'd never been part of some official carpool coordination. It's always been ad hoc with friends, not strangers. And I posted my details thinking, oh yeah, maybe one person might join me. And then next minute, my car was booked full with all these people. And it all happened so fast, I didn't really realize what was happening. And you were going to carpool with me.
Yeah, I was. And I thought that was going to be quite a nice thing to be able to ride together. And then on our way back, we can share in our experience. But when I thought about it, I realized, regardless of what you had done, I realized that I really felt more comfortable taking my own car because I have two children and they were going to be out of Auckland, staying on an island with my grandparents, very remote. And I, the thought crossed my mind that if I got an emergency call to say something's happened and I need to be in Auckland because I don't know, there's an accident and my kids are, worst case scenario, they're in hospital or something, I needed to be able to have a way of being able to pull myself out of the retreat and go to them if they needed me. And I couldn't do that if I had shared a ride with somebody. So I think it was just out of just thinking, okay, thinking practically about it and realizing I have responsibilities outside of this that I need to be able to tend to if called upon. So that was the reason why I kind of pulled out. Like, I think I told you the night before that actually I was thinking I'm gonna just ride by myself to the retreat and do this and have my vehicle there rather than share the ride with you. So yeah,
It was
that was
sensible, I
yeah.
thought, when I saw all your stuff.
Oh yeah, I
Well,
took a,
yeah.
a lot of stuff.
We
I had a
needed a
lot.
lot of stuff because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
needed to have lots of clothes, so we weren't spending all our time doing laundry.
Because
But
they don't have a laundry facility there. It's like you just hand wash, and that's
yeah,
okay. But because of not having a laundry facility, it was like, all right, I really need to prepare
mhm,
just enough clothes to last me if I'm unable to wash by hand. Because then on top of that, we don't know what the weather's going to be like, meaning we could wash by hand our clothes, but whether there's any place to dry it, like that's sheltered, we don't know, like in rainy,
mhm.
stormy situations. So just had to be prepared for the full, like, clothes, enough clothes for like the full 10 days if
Yeah.
needed.
I
So
thought I
I had a
did that.
full-on suitcase.
But yeah, I don't think I had as much as you, but I packed 10 sets of clothes. But
Yeah.
then what I didn't realize is it was really cold in the morning and boiling hot in the middle of the
Mm,
day and the afternoon, and I just started
yeah.
sweating and I was
Yeah.
changing my clothes four
Hmm.
times a day, and that's why I ran out really quickly, and then I
Hmm.
started washing
Hmm.
clothes every day.
I think I started washing clothes by day 4. I was like, I saw girls with all their clothes out, and I was like, you know what, I should start doing that too. I had particular clothes that I felt more comfortable in than others. So ones that I reach for more often, right? So they're going to get dirty more often and need to clean them more regularly. So yeah, I started washing about day 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so coming back to the
Yeah.
story of where we were up to,
Talking
good
about
thing.
worldly
Yeah.
stuff,
Laundry. Got to do the laundry.
practical,
Yes.
everyday.
Mundane things that need to be done.
Mhm.
But so you had pulled out, and then at the time, there were going to be three other people in my car.
Mhm.
And I made sure to tell them all, you can only have a fifth of the boot because there's so many people. And then another one, their flight got moved and they weren't going to make our cutoff period for leaving Auckland. So it actually worked out really comfortably that there were two people in the car and all of our stuff fit and we had space because, we were meeting each other for the first time. And one thing that I appreciated was one of the rideshare people had been meditating for a long time. And so he was able to tell us a little bit more about what to expect.
Mhm.
And he told us about the fruit because I had understood, because I've gone and meditated in Buddhist
Mhm.
monasteries before. My understanding was, oh, you don't get dinner. So that was prepared in my mind. And he
Mhm.
said, no, no, new students get fruit. And I said,
Woohoo.
oh, fruit? What? Oh, I'm just not going to eat it because I never ate dinner when I went on meditation retreats. And he said, you should really take advantage of being a new student and just eat the fruit.
Mhm.
And so then I sort of mulled it over and I thought, well, fruit's very healthy. It's not a big meal. I can still be alert and meditate. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to eat the fruit. So I wasn't surprised because there were lots of surprises, just things you didn't know how it was going to go. And they try to give you a good run through of what to expect. And even things like you can't bring your own cushion into the meditation hall, but
Yeah.
you can have your own cushion in your room.
Right.
And if you've been meditating for a while, you might have cracked the code with the best cushion that you don't get any aches and you could sit for 2 hours. But then if you can't have that cushion, then it's a whole interesting experience in not having the cushion that you're used to meditating with. So then, yeah.
I was just going to say, for someone like me who maybe meditates like maximum an hour at any given time, I haven't meditated, I haven't been to a retreat like this. So I don't know. I don't have a favorite cushion or anything. So coming into it, it was kind of nice because I brought, I think what made my luggage look so big was I had cushions that obviously weren't going to fit in my suitcase. So I had to carry all of that plus my duvet. I didn't have a sleeping bag. I had an actual, the blanket that I sleep with is the blanket that I brought because I wanted to be as comfortable as possible and feel like a little bit of home, that I brought a little bit of home with me. And there's just a little bit of background about this because the day before the retreat, I was going to pull out and I wasn't going to attend. And I had been going through some things the day before. I woke up that morning and I had this existential dread, and I don't know how else to describe it, but it was this dark, very scary feeling. And words can't describe how I felt. But I was thinking, oh, I can't be on a meditation retreat. I need connection. I need to be relating with other people. This is what I need. I need to be grounded in the present with the people around me. I need my children. I need to. And so that morning, thinking I need all these things, I went to their room while they were still sleeping, and I cuddled up next to them while they slept and just kind of held them close to me because I was looking for comfort. And that morning, one of Penny's friends, the parent of one of my daughter's friends, she messaged me and was like, "Hey, you up to go to the pools today with the kids? We can meet in a couple of hours." And I was like, okay, sure. I should be packing my bags for the retreat. I should be packing my children's bags for when they go away to the island to spend time with their grandparents. But I was like, sure, I'm going to go and hang out with my children and some friends, because this is what I'm feeling inside. I need connection. So I did it, and talking with someone just about everyday things just brought me back into the present. And this darkness inside that I can't explain, it started kind of washing away. And I was like, oh, I think I can do this. If I can get past this, I can wake up tomorrow and I can go to this retreat. And that's what I did. That night, my mum came to stay with us. And I remember all of us on this couch right here, laying down, me, Cole, Penny, my mum, and we're watching this documentary, on oceans. I'm not sure, like the Four Oceans or something. Just a documentary on nature. And we were all like engrossed in this very wholesome TV series, watching orca whales trying to hunt down seals in the Arctic. Like it was so nice just to be in my home with the people that I love, spending this moment with them. And then later on in the evening, like I don't normally do this, but my mum was staying the night, and this is a small house. And I asked her if she could sleep with me because I didn't want to be alone. So that is the kind of feeling I was having, that I was struggling, that I was battling with this internal need for for connection and relatability. And knowing that this retreat, on the other hand, I don't know what it's going to be like. And I'm thinking the worst, right? Like, I'm going to be in isolation. I'm not going to be able to talk to anyone. I'm not going to be able to make eye contact. I'm like, so there's this like kind of angst growing in me, but it was disappearing as I was living life moment by moment, taking opportunities as they arose to make and connect. And that night I had like pillow talk with my mum. We spoke for hours just in the dark, just cuddled up next to each other. And it was such a beautiful moment. And like, she, I will cherish these moments that I have. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have reached out to her and asked her, can you sleep with me? Because I don't want to be alone tonight, So yeah, it was a beautiful moment. And I'm here now talking about the retreat. So obviously I went.
Such a beautiful story.
Yeah. Sorry.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
It just shows that these are the moments of life. And I'm with you, and I feel you. I feel all of those emotions and moments, and just it's so precious that those dark feelings that arose for you, the angst, the dread, and the uncertainty, whilst being very uncomfortable, was something that you responded to in a way that was not reactionary. It was very wholesome. Instead of generating tension and resistance, you turned to your tribe, your people around you, and you leaned on them, and you felt there's the strong stability of the people around you holding you, connecting. And it actually, because you felt that, allowed you to be so vulnerable with your mum, and to have this beautiful evening that evening will never exist again. That was a moment that you shared with your mum, that you could connect and see each other, not literally because you're in the dark, but metaphorically see each other and be together. I think that's so wonderful and poignant, Bianca.
Thank you. And look, that feeling, it was something that I was struggling with, and I found from moment to moment doing what I needed to do to get myself out of the dark abyss that I found myself being pulled into. That moment I found would come and go during the retreat in the first couple of days. And so we would just kind of explain a little bit. We can backtrack a little bit after this, but with that feeling of existential dread, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to describe it at that time. I think when we explain a little bit later on down the track about our progress into as the retreat went on, I now understand what it is to the best of what I could understand in at this time. But those early days of the retreat, we would wake up at 4 o'clock, and then it was optional whether we wanted to meditate in the meditation hall from 4:30 to 6:30, or we could meditate in our room. And I always went at 4:30 to the meditation hall to meditate because I was scared, because of that feeling that I was that aloneness, this like the feeling like just feeling scared. I always went to the meditation hall because I needed to be around others and meditate with them. Even though we weren't able to make eye contact or we weren't able to like speak to each other, just knowing that there's another person next to me or just down the aisle from me who's also meditating as well, just put me at ease, knowing that I'm with other people and I'm safe. So that's all I want to, that's my, as much as what I wanted to share now. So thank you for letting me share a little bit of that experience with you. So yeah.
Yeah, there's something powerful in the energy of the group as well. You really feel it if you do
Mhm,
a group sitting, uh, whether Vipassana, whether another kind of meditation with other spiritual friends that do other kinds of meditations and practices or
mhm,
energy work. To me, it doesn't really matter, but where you're vibing with the people and you're on the same wavelength and you sit together for some kind of rallying around particular
mhm,
values, whether it's a value of peace or a value of fortitude or doing the work,
mhm,
dissolving the things inside of you that give you and others grief.
mhm,
All those kinds of goals or objectives of your practice, it's so powerful to be
mhm.
together with others.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And kind of a funny thing, um, probably less deep, is that I went to the meditation hall to meditate at 4:30 because I was scared I would fall asleep in my room.
Oh, I felt like the 4:30 to 6:30 meditation was always my strongest time because
Mm.
I was awake, fresh-minded, fresh body, like not
Mm-hmm.
aches and pains from having sat in the same spot and meditated for 5 hours previously. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was my strongest. And I always was like, you know what? I've noticed a couple of, did you hear the alarm that would go off? Like someone's watch
Yeah,
kept,
someone's watch kept beeping. It started a little bit into the retreat, and then it was every day. And I could hear the organizers whispering, "We have to
yeah,
find whose watch is it." And I think one day they must have found him because
I
they
think they
said
did.
they told him. And I was like, I was meditating, and I thought, how does he not know that it's his own watch? And
Mm,
how does
mm.
he let it happen every day?
Every
Because
day.
there was a big sign saying, "Don't bring in watches that beep." And he
Mhm.
literally brought in a watch that
Exactly.
beeped and he let it beep every day. But then when they told him, it's like he didn't know. So
Mm.
maybe he had hearing difficulties. Like maybe he didn't even know he had a watch that beeped.
But here's
Maybe.
the thing as well, it's like sometimes you press a button and you think you've cancelled the alarm, thinking that you've cancelled it permanently, but really it's just cancelled that morning and it's going to repeat
Mm-hmm.
again the next morning. So I think over time he's probably like, oh, I must be pressing the button that just cancels it for today, but tomorrow it's
Yeah.
still going to be like, so I don't know, but
Yeah,
it
you
was
could
really
take your
funny.
watch off. It was funny because it
Yeah.
kept going at the same time. It wasn't the end of the
Mhm.
meditation, but it was some odd
No.
time in the middle that
It
it
was
would
in the
just
middle
beep.
where yeah, it was somewhere like day 3, 4, 5, 6 or something like that.
I mean, in the
Um,
middle of the sitting as well. So
oh,
if
oh,
we were
right, right,
sitting
right.
from when was it? Was it in the morning sit? Maybe
Yeah,
like from
it was.
from 8 to 9.
No, no, it was in the 4:30 to 6:30 because I had mental timers because there's no time. You can't see the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, the teachers can and the servers that sit in front of us can because I noticed they had like you could see the clocks facing that way, the
Mm.
digital clock facing them so they could see, but we looking that way can't see the clock facing that way. Anyway, but I had timers in my mind, mental timers. So from 4:30 to 5:30. At 5:30 was when the teachers would come and join us. And then around 6 o'clock was when the beeping started. The
That guy's watch.
yeah, that guy's watch. And then maybe a little bit after that, maybe quarter past or something, then the chanting would start. Or maybe
Mm.
10 minutes after, but it was about 20 minutes, 15 minutes of chanting and then the first time it came on, I was like, oh, this is going to be 5 minutes and we're almost done. But the chanting kept going and going, and I was like, oh, when is it going to end? Like, when is it
That chanting,
6:30
that
for
chanting really plays
breakfast?
with you.
Yeah.
Uh,
But once you
because
realize it's that
yeah,
much time, now you know it's like, okay, we're in for another 20 minutes. Whew, okay,
yes.
we got this. We can keep going. We're
Well,
almost
because
there.
they have different lengths of it, right? Sometimes the chanting is 5 minutes and
Mhm.
sometimes it's 20 minutes. And I had no sense of time. Like you had those
Oh,
mental
really?
timers.
Oh, I had those mental timers.
When I was meditating, there was no time. But
Mhm.
when, of course, if you knew, okay, this is lunchtime and you
Mhm.
have this much time to have a shower and then you have to be in the hall, those things I
Mhm.
knew because I had a clock in my room. But if I was out of my
Mhm.
room,
Mhm.
I had this, okay, where do I need to be? How much time do I have? Because there was nowhere to see the time.
Mhm.
And so when we were in the hall, it took me a while, like maybe 2 days, to figure out, oh, this is at this time, it's a long chant. And at this time, it's a short chant.
Mhm.
So I always just went, I'm going to assume that it's a 20-minute chant. And then if it was 5 minutes, I would
Good.
go,
Yeah.
oh, it's 5 minutes. Oh, that was so
Yeah.
fast. I thought it was going to be 20 minutes.
Or the chanting that would finish, and then we'd do sadhu, sadhu, we'd say that.
Yeah.
And then we think it's over, and then he starts chanting again, and we're like,
that got me 3 times. One of the times I was
Yeah.
so eager to leave that I started standing up and I open my eyes and I see everyone is still sitting down. And then I went, oh, it was one of those where he's going to keep chanting. And then I quickly sat down again.
So there was one time, I'm not sure if you were there. Surely you were. I mean, you went to all the early morning sessions,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, same. It's annoying because I was like, okay, for those that are listening, there was, how many of us? There was like 50 women. It felt like there were like 50, yeah.
I thought there was a total of 100 people just across everyone.
Right. And we were sitting in rows of 5 or 6. I think the front row was like, there was 6 women. The next row was like 5 women. And then my row, I was the third from the front, was like 4 because 2 weren't there on the aisle side. So it was like a girl, me, and then 2 other girls. But it was funny because I'm third from the front, and the only ones that I can really gauge, like, if presence with, I don't know, is like the girls in front of me. There's only 2 rows. So, and just like for people as well, was that how it was set up is we have the women's side and the men's side. This is for people who have never gone to a retreat. This might be a common thing, but this was my first retreat. So the women meditate on one side and the men meditate on the other side of the hall.
And the men are in separate quarters, so you never see them. If you were looking at the floor the whole time, you would never see even a man's shoes during the retreat.
They are on one side of the premises of the facilities, and women are on the opposite side of the facility. So we don't see each other until we come in for meditation. So, but also, and then on top of that, the first 2 or 3 rows, all the old students would sit up the front unless you're sitting in a chair at the back. That's what I noticed, was even on the men's side, the front 2 or 3 rows were made up of old students, returning meditators, and then all the new meditators were behind them. So we had 2 rows of returning old meditators, and then I was the first row that was new, and then we went back, like my row, then row behind me, and blah blah blah. So I just wish that I was a few rows further back so I could have a little bit more. You're not really supposed to be looking.
Lots of people. Yeah.
You're not supposed to be looking, but I'm such a curious person. I'm like, looking around.
Yeah. Well, then later I heard like other people looked as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was the first row of new girls, so I only had the old ones to kind of gauge off, and there were some really strong meditators up the front there that I used to just see. They'd just be like up straight.
They sat so straight. Yes.
Just completely still for the 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it was. And I'm just like, wow, so stoic. Yeah. So, yeah.
So to give the full overview for someone who is brand new, I met with you at the front gate, and there was a parking area, and then there was a long drive, and you were allowed to drive your car down to the end and unload all your stuff onto the deck. There was a deck around the property, and then you had to drive back and park a bit of a ways off and then walk up the drive and then carry your stuff. Oh no, then you would register, right? You'd register.
Yeah, we registered.
And you had to fill out more forms and then get checked and get all your details in, and then you could go move your stuff.
We had to also put our valuables, like our phone, our wallet or whatever, in. They would hold on to that. So there was a register for that as well, to put our stuff away in the safe or whatever, locked away.
Yeah, they had a safe, and there was a drawstring bag with a number on it connected to every name. So they would write down, okay, I got bag number 19. And then my phone, my car keys, everything went in there.
Exactly.
And I think we won't drag it out with too many details, but there was a light supper and we were allowed to talk. And I didn't know we were going to be able to talk on the first day. So that was one thing that the guy in our car told us. He said, no, the first day is all go. Everyone can talk. And then the next day,
and when we say the first day, we mean the day before day one, because day one was considered the next day. So this is the night before when we arrive, and we were able to talk up until what time was it? Like,
I think 6 o'clock maybe. No, we had dinner.
It was 7, I think, or then, after 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a light supper and got to meet a lot of the other meditators, which was really nice. And I can see why they do that. So you're not 100% strangers. You kind of have met a few of them, and then they take you into the hall for orientation. And that part, they call out your name, and they've set up everyone's cushions with a little name tag saying where you are to sit, and you're called in one by one in order, very orderly. And then everyone sits down, and there's a big square foam cushion. The foam is quite hard, so it's not like a pillow. It's more like a carpet to me, that it felt like the hardness of a carpet floor. And then you have another similar hard cushion on top of that, that's smaller, and that's your mat that you sit on. And for the first sit, you are not allowed to take any other cushions or props or blankets and things. And then after that, you can go and add more cushions, which is funny, because then over the next few days, all the cushions, all the knee pillows, all the blankets got cleared out. And by day 5, there was nothing left in the cupboards from at least the blankets. I remember one day I went to, okay, I'm just going to get just one more blanket, and then I'll be comfortable. And I opened it and I thought, oh, of course there's no more blankets.
Yeah. I think I took one from an empty seat in my row, but then I realized I didn't need that much comfort, so I rolled it back up again and put it back. I used it for like one morning sitting, but I tried not to get too comfortable in the morning, the 4:30 to 6:30 meditation, because I was like, I felt like I tried to push myself to not get too comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I don't know if in the future they're going to be like, all right, you can't use anything. Like, you're just going to do an hour with just cross-legged and can't move, And I'm like, oh, no, I have to get rid of all my comforts.
So you were kind of getting prepared in advance.
Yeah. And because I don't know what position is right for me, because I haven't sat for more than an hour. So those few days I spent when we were just doing Anapanna, just like our breathing, I was using that as a time to test my body and be like, how long can I sit in this position before I get numb legs? Like, okay, all right, this position cross-legged with one pillow I can do this for an hour, but then I can't feel my legs after that. So let me just try to add another cushion on top of that. How long will that last? So I was figuring things out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll do a final run through of some of the stages, and then we can start getting into the specifics of how it went. So the schedule was, as we mentioned before, 4 a.m. the gong goes, you wake up, then you meditate from 4:30 to 6:30. Then you come out for a silent breakfast. Of course, you're silent the whole time, no talking, no eye contact. Then after breakfast, your next sit is 8 to 9. And then you have a 5-minute break. And basically, you're then sitting all the way until 11. But there might be some instructions, and different groups will get instructions. And after 9:30, some groups might be released to go meditate in their room. Then you've got 11 o'clock lunch. And then after lunch, you have a bit of a break. And then your next sit is from 1 all the way until 5 tea time. And tea time, new students get fruit. Old students get honey lemon, and I don't know if they had ginger, but a honey lemon something, which is good that they have the honey so that they can kind of settle their stomach.
I saw one of the new students taking the honey, and I was like, oh, that's for the old students.
There was a lot of working with internal judgment, and they even had signs, or I remember them saying something like, other people might not follow the rules, and this is your practice in equanimity and accepting it. And of course, it's so natural, and it's so fun to do self-observing of your reactions to everything around you. It's like a little boot camp so that you can practice observing yourself and your reactions once you come back to the bigger mayhem of society and modern life. It was really fun. I mean, lots of people breaking rules in different ways. And and then the final part is after that tea, there was a sit from 6 to 7, and then there was an evening discourse from 7 to 8:15 or 8:45, something like that. And then there was 8:15, and then there was a final
sitting at about 8:25. There was a final sitting from around 8:20, 8:25 through to 9 o'clock. And then 9 o'clock was questions, or go back to your room and get ready for bed. Questions with the teachers.
That I would say is the gist of it, without getting too granular. And then repeat for 9 days, and then the 10th day the schedule was a bit different, and I remember a lot of people looking at the announcement board trying to figure out, it's different the 10th day. We've got to go here, and there's this, and then you could talk. That was a surprise.
So noble silence ceased on the 10th day, the final day, after the 8 to 9 meditation that we had. So we still observed it from the 4:30 to 6:30, as well as breakfast. Although I will admit I was a little bit clueless, because I didn't know, and I thought it was once the day started. And so I said good morning to the girl next to me at breakfast at 6:30, not realizing that we still had to observe noble silence. And I realized once she didn't respond that, we must still be in silence. And then I read the notice board after breakfast, and that's when I realized, it finishes after the 8 to 9 meditation. So I was like, my bad. My heart was in the right place.
Yes. I think it was funny because there was, for a new student going into that kind of environment, there was so much etiquette that we didn't know. But even though we were oriented and given a lot of instructions, some things weren't said, and you had to piece it together by a little bit of trial and error. And so my funny story about that, just the confusion with the etiquette, was I understood the rule to be that there was no talking and no eye contact. So they have an opportunity to have interviews with the teacher from 12 to 1 every day. You can put your name down on this list, and then you have a meeting. It says 5 minutes, but usually it's 10 minutes. And so I go for my interview with the teacher, and I had my eyes down the whole time. And whenever she asked me a question, I was just either nodding or shaking my head. And when it wasn't yes or no, I was kind of thinking, how do I answer this? And then finally she said, will you look at me? And I went, yes, of course. And then I felt bad that she thought I was didn't want to look at her. And I said,
Yeah.
no, I just, it doesn't say anywhere that we're allowed to make eye contact with the teacher or that we're allowed to talk to the teacher. It just says no eye contact, no talking. So if it had said that somewhere, then that situation maybe could have been avoided. But there were a lot of people that were very familiar with that environment and what to do. So we had people to follow.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And I didn't realize, well, I don't know if we want to get into this since you were talking about your interview with the teacher about how I was told, and you already know this, we've spoken about this before, is that they put an emphasis on one path only, meaning if you are into any other methods of meditation or do any kind of other healing practices, that you have to set them aside. It was told to me at the beginning when I was pulled away to have an interview with the teacher, and I'm wondering why, what could she possibly want to talk to me about? And she told me about the Reiki that I do, and that on this retreat, for this period, I need to put it aside and not use it, to give Vipassana a real go, and to just really focus on the Vipassana experience. And I had no problems with that. But then I met with her a second time. She pulled me aside again, a second time, and then said a couple days later, and was like, just kind of reiterating, to not do any Reiki practices while you are here on yourself, because Reiki is a way of energy healing, and that goes a little bit against what Vipassana is about, when you're trying to get into your body and observe the sensations and not do anything, but sit in that sensation and just let it be, practice equanimity. So whereas Reiki is, we're very much like, we're using the energy to clear out and help facilitate the movement and flow of energy. If there's blockages, we unblock it, energy centers, and we course correct. So if I were to do that on myself during that 10-day sitting, I wouldn't get the benefit of Vipassana, because I would be healing my own discomforts, which are the Saṅkhāras, which we can talk about, which is what we're supposed to be feeling and dealing with. Like, it's a whole method for Vipassana, and I had no idea. And so I'm grateful that the teacher guided me through this and gave me direction and what I should be doing if I wanted to get the most out of Vipassana. But that second interview, I think she reiterated as well, I should be not doing Reiki. And I confirmed to her, I am not doing Reiki. I'm really much focused on Vipassana, the Vipassana way. Although at that point, I don't think we had introduced Vipassana meditation. It was day 4 that we were introduced to it. And I think it maybe had been on day 4 that we had a chat, or day 5, around that time. Anyway, and so then she was like, but even if you wanted to practice this outside of the 10-day retreat and make this an actual lived devotional thing, then also it's just one path, one way. And that's where I was like, oh, okay. I can't mix it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Very, very interesting. I mean, it's a big subject, and I had a similar experience to you, because you know, I've spoken about the FitMind app before.
Yeah.
And the FitMind app is fantastic. They draw on every single tradition from any and every religion. They don't mind. And they present the raw technique without any belief system, without any need to have any deities, but also even any kind of philosophical doctrine or framework or any kind of a spiritual teaching. They only teach the technique by itself. And the most they have is that you could say, oh, that's a philosophy, would be things like being kind will help your mind, or forgiving yourself can help your mind to be calm, and caring about others can help your mind to be calm. And these are things that we intuitively know to be true. We don't need a sacred book to tell us that. And I know by saying this, it sounds like, oh, then are you not a spiritual person? I love all of the variety of teachings that the various cultures have brought forth. And I think there are hidden gems and societal needs that called for those teachings at those points in time. So for me, I think of it like being an anthropologist that goes back and searches for these gems of wisdom throughout all the ages. And I'm really not bothered by it coming from different traditions or different religions. And I can be a big fan of wisdom from the shamans and from the Hindu religions and from Buddhism and even from Christianity or any other kind of teaching. I think that there is wisdom hidden within the symbols and the stories. And so I was very grateful for the course, and to give Vipassana a go. And I also was pulled aside twice because I mentioned that I do other meditation and I have certification to facilitate it as well. I've done mindfulness facilitator training. So I put that down, and they were concerned about, was I going to teach Vipassana? Was I going to teach it mixed? And I said, well, I'm not actually teaching anyone right now at the moment, but they had these conversations with me, very, very clear and firm conversations about the importance of not mixing it with anything. So I understood that, and I did that during the course. And to be transparent, when I've come back, of course I visualize. You visualize when you say, I'm going to get milk from the fridge, and in your mind you see an image of milk. So in everyday life we visualize, and visualization is something that is not allowed in Vipassana. But let's say if I do a meditation of peace, then even almost without thinking, you could be imagining a beach or a forest, and that evokes a feeling of peace, and then you're feeling peaceful, and so on. That's a very, very simple example, but these are things that I'm going to continue to do. And I also do Vipassana as well. And I know maybe I think the key with that tradition and teaching Vipassana is all about acceptance, accepting everything as it is. And that
exactly.
I hand on heart have taken away that core part of the teaching, the acceptance. And I think it's great to use that skill to accept other people, to accept difficult circumstances. And it doesn't mean to become a doormat, but it means that whenever you make any kind of move, you're responding with compassion and with that little bit of spaciousness to have a balanced approach and response. That was my biggest takeaway from that training, and I'm very grateful for it. And essentially it's body scans. So even though there's a particular type of chanting, there's a particular type of instruction and very particular sensations that come out of it, I think the sensations you feel in your body are universal, and the right to scan your body and to feel your different parts of your body is universal, and to choose to be equanimous and to sit with the moment and to allow it is universal. It doesn't have to sit under any kind of banner or particular name. We all have the right to practice in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I for me, in that experience of sitting, and we had those 3 times a day, once Vipassana body scanning was introduced, what, day 4 was? I think it was day 4, day 5. And then they turned some of our mandatory meditation hours in the hall into the hour of
strong determination.
Strong determination.
Yes.
That's the one. That was really
so you weren't allowed
cool?
to move, just for people
basically
who don't know what that is.
We weren't allowed to move. You'd sit in your meditative in your position, cross-legged, or I don't know, like straddling a cushion or whatever. Sit there. You can't move your legs. You can't move your hands. You can't open your eyes. Even when you're meditating, you don't open your eyes anyway. But yeah. So there was that. And because I've been trying to build up to a comfortable position and trying to focus on my breathing and that kind of thing, leading up to this day 4 or day 5 of having the hour of strong determination introduced, I found the hour just flew by. It was a little bit tough the first couple of times, but I was able to do it. It was painful. I felt like not just for those 1 hours, but just in general, my physical body was aching. My kneecaps were just sore from all of that sitting for so long in one spot. Even if I was able to relieve myself and move into a different position, not during what do they call it?
Adhiṭṭhāna.
Adhiṭṭhāna, that's it. Even Adhiṭṭhāna is the word for that they use for the hour of strong determination. It's called Adhiṭṭhāna. So even outside of those where we were allowed to move and switch and change up our position, even then it's still sore. You get out of the meditation hall and I'm just like wanting to stretch my legs, wanting to like stretch out my back, and it was just, there was a lot of physical pain, but I actually quite liked it because it made me feel like, okay, I'm getting rid of Saṅkhāras. And
well, we didn't even explain that as well.
Yes. Shall we talk about that?
Yeah, we can explain it.
Yeah.
That's a concept that they introduce in the teaching, where they refer to Saṅkhāra as like a very, very deep-seated type of clinging that sits deep below in your subconscious and may be associated with particular sensations. It could be pain, or it could be a pleasant kind of tingling type of sensation. And when those very deep attachments arise to the surface because you've just been sitting still for so long and you're just observing without judgment, you create this kind of a neutral space where those start to bubble up. And so as your body scanning and you're feeling your different sensations, when those come to the surface, then all of a sudden an area of your body might feel different. That is according to the theory of the Vipassana teaching. But they also are very particular to say that those who've come out should not be going out and teaching Vipassana or mentioning too much about it, because if you really want to learn it, you should go and do the 10 days and then you'll get it taught properly. So please don't practice it because we told you a few tidbits. If you are interested, you can go and practice it with them.
Yeah.
And I will say it's quite an experience. And there are those that can become religious about it. And for me, I think it really helped to establish my times in the day that I will be meditating, and it's a useful tool. That's how I consider it.
Yeah, it was good. And I don't have any other kind of way or method of meditating. So this gave me a really good framework to work with in terms of what I should be doing with my hour of meditation. And we started off for the first couple of days doing what's it called again?
Anapada.
Yeah, that
focus on the breath.
Focus on the breath. And then when Vipassana was introduced, the whole like scan your body in a particular way. It was a particular way of scanning your body. And then we learnt the metta meditation. So it gave me a few options that I could work with on any given day. If I'm feeling like my mind is a bit scattered, I might just do anapada,
something like that. Anapada.
Yeah, I might just do that. If I'm feeling really up for it, I'll do Vipassana, like actual sitting and really doing the focusing, scanning on my body and sensations. And just about that, I'm curious to hear your experience on the actual effects of the meditations itself, because I felt like if you can even put it into words, I think some people can't even begin to describe what they felt. But for me, I had moments of heightened awareness. It was increased. Like it felt like my body was more sensitized to the environment. I could feel any little breeze that would like blow on me. It just felt like it was any like what I would might hearing, like any birds that were chirping just seemed to be like really loud, and just all these, I just became very sensitive to my environment and to the physical things that I was feeling in my actual environment. How about yourself?
Same. I became hyper aware. And this funny thing happens not just from doing Vipassana, like when I'm meditating at home, any kind of meditation, whether it's a visualization or some types of devotional prayers, what have you, if you're very, very deep and then suddenly there's a noise somewhere just over there, the noise, you can feel it like inside your body. It seems that it's all matter and sensation and phenomena is interpenetrating, and you're going into this kind of state where you're connecting with some sort of universal grid, that everything is connected. And so you feel that connection right inside your core. So if there was suddenly something dropped, that would kick you on the inside. And it's a very bizarre feeling that if you know, you know. If you don't know, you have no idea what we're talking about, but you can feel the outside world on the inside of you. You feel that everything is connected. You really start to sense that it's like having a particular lost faculty that maybe we were born with, but it's atrophied. It starts coming online, and you can feel like all matter is entangled. And that's why they have in the concept of quantum entanglement, that particles are entangled. So you start to feel that entanglement with everything, all arising phenomena around you. So any little sound, any micro subtle sensation,
even a look or a gaze, like I could feel eyes on me from across the room, or just like at the back of my head, right? Like you can just feel when someone's got their eyes open.
It's
And
very bizarre, the things that start to happen if you meditate for a long
oh
time.
yeah, it was
Another weird thing. Oh,
yeah.
you go.
No, I was just like, yeah, it's really cool being in this heightened aware, super hyper awareness. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Another strange thing that happened was when we were doing the Anapada and just focusing on the breath. That was one of the main types of meditation that I had done
Okay.
previously. So every time I went and sat in a Buddhist monastery, that was the only kind of meditation I did. It was just
Okay.
watching your breath and getting subtler and subtler and sharper, and just really watching the sensation. And then sometimes your thoughts wander away and then coming back, but really training that sharpness of concentration and the ability to sense at a very subtle level,
Mm-hmm.
those two parts. And so this was the longest time I had ever sat consecutively watching my breath. And this strange thing happened where all of a sudden it felt like this, like a blanket went over all of my busy thoughts and they just got turned off like that.
Okay.
So I went into this other state. You could call it maybe a trance state. It was very, very pleasant. And I didn't hold that state for too long,
Mm-hmm.
but it was at certain points when I went into this very deep state and I could understand how the monks in monasteries meditate for so long. Because once you get into that trance, all of the pain in your body disappears, all of the thoughts disappear, any volition disappears. It is extremely pleasant.
Wow.
Now, yeah, you still know that you are here at this point in time. You know about your body, but because you're not focused on it, you feel like you're nowhere, but you're aware. So you've reduced your experience to raw awareness, and there's not too much data crossing this field of raw awareness. So I'm sure that once you got into a deep state, you could actually utilize that to bring back information from your
Mm-hmm.
deep core. And I think from that perspective, those deep states could be very functional. They don't have to be just, oh, go sit in this trance. Well, why? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all of this exploration and different kinds of practices are about discovering what you're capable of and what kinds of states
Yeah.
the consciousness is capable of diving into.
Mm-hmm.
But then to take it a step further, when you go into these deep states, you can actually gain wisdom and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think we only just scratched the surface.
What's so Anicca is the phrase for the impermanence of something. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. We said this earlier briefly when we talked about the time frame about how we had a 1 hour, an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a quarter of discourse where we would have a lecture from Goenka. Oh, I don't know his full name.
I think his name is Goenka. Yeah, he has a full name, but he only refers to himself in the talks as Goenka. So that's the name that we were hearing.
And it was the first couple of days. And like I said earlier about feeling a little bit this deep sense of dread and just scaredness that I couldn't describe. In the first couple of discourses, first couple of days, talked about impermanence and about the fear of death and about because impermanence is huge in this understanding that things come and they go, and the pain or the sensation comes and it will go. This too shall pass, right? So it makes sense that he would start off in the early days of his discourses, day 1, day 2, day 3, talking about impermanence. But I realized that what I had been experiencing on and off, and what I experienced the day before arriving at the meditation, was this fear of impermanence, knowing that at any moment I could die and I might not ever see my children again, and they would miss out on having me in their lives for their adult life. And that insight came to me as I was listening to the discourses, and I realized, because I was saying on that day before the retreat, no, I need to be relational, I need connection. That was me trying to pull myself out of that dark hole and be like, this is what I need, because this is what makes me feel better, is connection. But although it felt good in the moment to be connected with my friends and have spend time with my mum and make special moments with her, what I was able to realize was that is just a small that's just a small relief to a bigger problem inside. And so by meditating, as I was doing this, working through my inner struggles, I was able, that feeling, that dread, that scaredness that I would feel going to the 4:30, being motivated by fear of being alone, being motivated by that to go to a 4:30 to 6:30 meditation in the meditation hall, as opposed to just being in my room. Like that was the driving force of me going, the motivation. But over time, I realized, as I'm working on this, focusing on this meditation and doing what is required of me, that feeling went away, that fear went away, it subsided, and I started feeling a little bit more equanimous, right? Like that phrase, being more like just level and grounded and accepting of whatever comes, and Anicca, being this will come, and I can take this feeling, and I don't need, it's okay to be scared, but let's observe that fear, let's understand that this will pass. I need, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's hard to explain, but so
it will come and go, and so will everything.
That's right.
The things you like, the things you don't like.
Right. That's right.
They just come and go.
And more immediate learning experiences for me in the moment, like as I'm meditating, was understanding, okay, impermanence. It's going to come, it's going to go. I'm going to feel discomfort. It's not going to be permanent. I'll be fine. I would try to sit there, and because I'm with my body, I would get itch, like I would want to scratch my nose. I'd want to like scratch the back of my head, like, just do all these like niggly things. And I started withholding from that, and just as I was scanning my body, thinking, oh, my back is really itchy. I want to scratch it, but let's observe it and see how long it lasts, right? Or I can observe it and recognize that it's there and acknowledge that I need to scratch my back, move on, keep scanning the rest of my body. And then the next time I do it, when I come back, oh, it's not there anymore. And you know what I mean? Like it passed, and I did nothing like other than recognize and acknowledge its existence. And so I continued that from early, when I was focusing on my breathing. I was like, okay, I'm feeling discomfort, but that's okay. Oh, I got an itch on my face, but let me just like focus on that and see how long it lasts, and I don't need to do anything, So it was really, really cool to be able to actually witness impermanence in the actual moment, being present with my body, as well as the bigger stuff inside, being like, oh my gosh, fear, dread, like I'm feeling scared, and then having that subside over time with the meditation practices that we were doing. So yeah, it was a really cool experience, and I was able to learn and experience firsthand how meditation can help you just by doing it for 10 days, almost nonstop for like 10 hours. How long? Like if we add up,
it was 10 and a half hours per day.
10 and a half hours of meditating with small breaks here and there. That's intense.
Yeah.
But that's the best
105 hours.
That's the best way to, if you're not sure about meditation, you do it nonstop for a week and a half and see how you feel. It's it's going to change your world, like in small ways or big ways. But
yeah, some people it was a profound change, and other people was a little change. Some
mhm.
people were still a bit confused at the end as well, because I talked to some people.
Oh
I think
yeah,
everyone has just a different response to
yeah,
it. But
mm,
if you find it helped
yeah,
and you have more length in your path to go in your journey to getting really
hmm,
grounded or stronger, then
mm,
it can be something that can be helpful. And I noticed that after I got back, and I'm generally, I think that I'm pretty calm and detached already compared to the average person. I'm not saying
mm,
that I'm a saint with that, but compared to the
mhm,
average person, I found it to be much more so when I came back. And when I would be in particular situations that used to give me anxiety, I found that the anxiety was less. It wasn't
mm,
gone, but it was less.
mhm.
And
Yeah. I just have one more thing after you are done to share, and
okay,
that's me.
yeah, okay. Well, because I do lots of other types of practices and meditations, one thing that I was really excited about that is a big takeaway for me
Mhm.
is the ability to have an even stronger faculty of observation.
Right.
Because to be able to observe your internal world and your external world simultaneously, there's so much information in that. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not familiar with these concepts, you may not know what I'm talking about, but check out our previous episodes. And we've been
Mm-hmm.
talking about it quite a bit. Just being able to watch yourself, watch your thoughts, watch your feelings, watch your volitions, and see how it all ties together. There's a really big story going on underneath the surface that as you start to watch, you can start to see the deep sources of all your desires and habits and the patterns that are playing out in your interactions. It's one big puzzle. So
Mm-hmm.
to be able to train that ability that is going to assist with that practice, I found that super helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I there was something that I wanted to say. Oh, just about the noble silence and just being like not being able to talk with anyone, not being able to make eye contact with anyone. It was it reminded me of the days that I would spend that I used to live. I grew up on Great Barrier Island, and on Great Barrier Island, it's there's a couple small communities scattered throughout the island. It's quite a big island. We have my family live on Māori, which is native New Zealand, Māori owned land off the coast of Great Barrier Island. So it's even more remote than Great Barrier itself. So just my family lived there and a few cousins and aunties and uncles. So when I was growing up, uh, there were times where weeks would go by where there'd be no visitors to the island. It would just be me and my family, and we could go the whole day. Like I would go over the hill, I'd go for walks, like just or be in the garden or be in the house, and everyone else would be out and about, and we could go for days without speaking. Like that's how isolated it is, isolating it is. And so observing this noble silence reminded me so much of my time on the island, and it took me back, and I found that on the breaks I couldn't help but keep thinking about home, and my parents still live there, and that's where my children were while I was on the retreat. So naturally my thoughts were on the island, and being reminded of this way of life that you observe where you are in isolation, you're not speaking with anyone, but you're just going about your day doing things in a real rhythmic type of way. It's like you wake up and then you have your breakfast, and then you go out and you water the garden, and you go check on the chickens and the pigs and the, make sure, and you go wandering over the hill to make sure that the cows are okay, and and then you come home and you maybe read a book out on the beach, and you would have not said a word to anyone or seen anyone. um, go for a little swim and then come back to your book and read again. It was so like that, that real slow way of living is what I'm used to and I love. It was very familiar to me. And taking myself out of the fast city life of Auckland, and I work in the corporate world. I work in the corporate space. It's very like high pressure, like go go go. And so taking myself out of that and then going into a meditation retreat of 10 days of silence or 9 days of silence, and being on my own was very familiar to me, and it brought me back to a way of living that I'm used to, that I have lost touch with. So I was able to bring that back into my home when I came back from Vipassana, and get back into this like real slow rhythmic like way of being. Like I'd wake up, do my meditation right here out in the living room, and then I have my breakfast of like porridge or oats with, it was very similar to the meals that we had, the vegetarian meals that
I
we
really
had
liked those
in the
meals.
oh my gosh, they
I
were
bought
so
the currants
tasty.
so I could recreate the porridge. I've got
Same,
the oats, I've got the currants. I want
same.
to make that porridge was just like after
Ah,
meditating in the morning, you just
mhm.
were really happy with the porridge.
So what I did was on the Sunday, because I had work on Monday, we came back on the Sunday, was that Sunday evening, I made oats, made porridge, and then I made the currants, raisins with the prunes, and rehydrated them in a bit of warm water. And then I had that all set aside. And then so for breakfast the next day, I was able to have the oats with the currants and the prunes, and then a dash of yogurt, and then some peanut butter, because that's what I was doing at the retreat. Have a bit of protein. That and tea. My milky black tea. Sometimes I'd add toast. I was having a piece of toast as well to it, but oh, and that fills me up till like lunchtime. That filled me up for like 4 hours. It was so good. Like, so it was really cool. Like some of these habits, this way of being that you lose touch with, you get connected with yourself again and back into it with, and it's like I don't have to be go go go. I just wake up when I need to wake up and just slowly do my thing. I'm Capricorn rising. Like I'm an earth sign. Like I'm slow and methodical, like steady as she goes. Like I'm not made to be this fast paced, like, just like get things done, multitasking. Like, oh, that burns me out real quick. So it was really good to get back into a rhythm that I'm familiar with that feels more like me. Yeah.
Isn't it
So,
interesting how we are one way and there's a particular way of being that's so wholesome and healthy for us,
mhm,
and the greed, the insatiability of modern society has
mhm,
driven us, in spite of all of our inventions and conveniences, to just be pushing ourselves to the very brink where we're suffering,
mhm,
and we work too hard and we get all tense and we our muscles get sore and we get stressed, and we're in these environments that are not conducive to a feeling of wholesome and being well. So to be able to go to this quiet place and to sit and be alone and to learn to be quiet and to ground yourself and bring yourself just back into the present moment, I think it was such a treat. And I'm so grateful that we both got to go on this retreat, even though we
mhm.
couldn't talk the whole time. I knew you were there, you knew I was there, and we could talk on the first day and the last day. And we had these wonderful little meditative bushwalks because there was a lovely path through the
Oh,
bush.
yes. And the glowworms.
Yes, there's glowworms. That's another reason to go if you're thinking about it.
Oh, so magical. If you go just after sundown, 9 to
For the women, though.
9:30.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think the men had it too. I was talking
Okay.
with one of the guys there, and yeah, he was saying that they had glowworms.
Okay, so they have
Yeah.
glowworms as well. Yeah, we never
Mhm.
got to see what their bushwalk
Oh,
was
oh.
because there was a big barrier between
Yeah.
the two sides, the men and the
Yeah.
women. But
Also they have less rooms on the boys' side. So there were on the men's side, they didn't have nearly as many women as us. There was
or
maybe
people, yeah.
there's only like 30 rooms, I think, in
Mm.
a couple of tents. So it was like 3 people in tents and then 30 odd rooms, and then they only had like 2 showers and like I don't know a handful of toilets. So they had less facilities than us, but
Right.
yeah, less men.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
yeah.
I think if you're thinking about going,
Mhm.
then we've just shared our own experiences, how
Yeah.
it was for us, and we've given a true depiction of how we felt,
Mhm.
what we saw, what our reaction was. All up, I'd say it was positive,
Yeah,
and
100%. I
we're so
would
much
even
more
do it again.
zen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Just
Yes, I would do it again too.
yeah.
Not to say that I'm going to become a Vipassana Madini,
Mhm.
but I think that there's a place for that
Mhm.
quietness and being still and being in
Yeah.
touch with the moment.
Yeah.
And whether you go to a retreat or not, that's something that we all can do.
Mhm.
Just to be still, to not externalize everything, but
Mhm.
to be okay, be comfortable with how it is, be comfortable with how we're feeling, and not feel that we need to explain everything to everyone, and just letting it be, and it's going to be all
And
right.
we also didn't mention that it's donation based, so there is no payment. You don't pay to come on this course, this retreat. It's all free. Everything's provided for you. And the reason they gave was because you're living like a monk. You're living off the generosity of others. So if you have to experience, well, you don't have to experience it, but that is the experience they want you to have, is that you are letting go of all your inhibitions and all your needs for security and just being like, and all your ego set aside. It's like you are living off the generosity of others. So I thought that was really cool, and they do take donations, but it's not pushed and it's not like you feel obligated. They
Yeah, it's
really do
optional.
just leave it up to you. Like it really
Yes.
is just your choice, and you don't feel pressured at all. They don't, those places you go to where it's like, oh, it's a donation. You don't, but really, it's like you kind of have to do it. It's I didn't feel at all coerced or felt pressured to have to give. I wanted to give anyway, of my own heart, out of my own, you know, because of how I was feeling and the gratitude that I have, as opposed to feeling forced to do the donation. So yeah.
Yes. I definitely rate it, and I say it was a
Yeah.
positive
Okay.
experience, and it's really fortified my personal spiritual practices and sittings.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're curious, definitely look them up. There's actually Vipassana centers all around the world.
Oh yeah.
So wherever you're listening from, you can Google it and find the nearest one to you and consider it. And if you aren't going to go to a Vipassana retreat, that doesn't mean you can't meditate. There's the Fit Mind app, and there's a ton
Mm-hmm.
of resources online that can assist you to get started. So thank you everyone for listening, and remember, the path to your best reality is in your hands to create.